Hey there. So, for the tens, if not hundreds, of Studio HFL fans, I'd like to say hello, welcome back. I would like to let you know that I've got some more interviews finally coming out. In 2017, I started these interviews. First 50 or so were audio only, and then, of course, thanks to COVID and Zoom, I was able to get video for most of the rest of these interviews. And then life went back to somewhat normal and I stopped editing, and it's been bugging me for some time. So finally, the pendulum has swung the other direction, and here I am finally editing and getting these interviews out. Now, early on, I had sponsors. I wouldn't have been able to have quite the success for the podcast that I did without them. Of course, that includes, in no particular order, Eastman Music Company and S.E. Shires, Chop Saver. Thank you, Dan Gosling. Austin Custom Brass, Hammond Design, Pickett, Blackburn, and Messina Covers. I think that's it. Anyways, and also to some Patreon subscribers. So thank you ever so much. Oh, yeah. If during the interview you are so moved to like and subscribe, then please do. Don't worry, this is my only ask. You won't see or hear about that again. So now, without further ado, on with the interview. Well, in 1970 to 1974, we were in Germany near Stuttgart. My dad was stationed he was Air Force, but he was stationed at an army base just outside of Stuttgart.
In Kamstal, yeah, I know the place. It was on the top of the hill.
I don't remember. I was 4 years old when there.
That's the longer.
But I remember Germany so vividly, beautiful, beautiful countryside. And we visited the Black Forest many times. We went to Ludwigsburg. The Black Forest.
I live where the Black Forest stops. That is in the west of Stuttgart, on the way to Paris. So I'm living on countryside in a 500-year-old house. Living really like in a dream, like in Peter von Säcking in the castle.
Oh, I still have not found a recording of that, by the way. It's funny that you mentioned that piece. We'll have to talk about that. Yeah.
I just recorded it.
Well, I'm going to have to find it. Tell me how I can find that.
Yeah. It's printed. It's in a version for trumpet and wind orchestra, and there should also be the orchestra material, because it's the most played opera in the 19th century.
I didn't know that.
It's so thrilling. I just made a little research, because it was a big part of Edward H. Tarr's life. Yeah. He was searching this, making some research things. And I made a new CD in September, which is called Blumine. And Blumine is from Gustav Mahler, but he's the only survivor of 7 pictures he composed in 2 days. He composed 7 pieces. That was his opus 0, and he destroyed 6 of them, but the 7th piece survived, and that is Blumine. And that is, Blumine means flower, and it's dedicated. It's not really dedicated, written, but it's he composed it because he was in love with a singer, Johannes, in the opera house in Kassel. It's so funny because 1884, Victor Nessler, a composer from France, from Alsace, he composed this opera on the base of the theater from Victor von Scheffel, who is born in my city, in Karlsruhe. So it's very close, everything. It has to do with me. 1884, Victor Nessler composed the opera, and in the same year, it was as a theater, a spoken theater. It was in the theater of Kassel, and the intendant, the boss of the opera house, went to the young pianist, the young conductor, also accompanied, co-repetitor, Gustav Mahler, and he said, please compose something. We need music for this thing. And then in 2 days, he composed it in the same year, 1884. And the opera was played several thousand times in the whole world. I can show you the little paper on the wall. You can see there, the Trompeter von Seck. Do you see it?
Oh, yes, yes.
And that is from the opera house in Bayreuth. It's a very small opera house, but that was 2 years after the premiere in Leipzig. It was the 191st session that they played this piece. And Gustav Mahler, when he entered New York, he wrote a letter. Oh, now I'm arriving in New York, and what do they play? What the hell do they play? Der Trompeter von Seck. So, Blumine is my next CD. It's a reduction from the orchestra for 4 hands piano. And then the second piece is the Trumpet Sonata by Richard Strauss.
Now that's another one I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, because on the 1st January this year, the rights of the composer family, Richard Strauss, ended after 70 years. And Jonathan Freeman Atwood, the director of the Royal Academy, a good friend of mine, and a fantastic, he's an amateur trumpet player, student of the big James, what is the godfather in Great Britain?
Oh, James Morrison? No.
No, John Wallis. John Wallis. He's a student of John Wallis. And he together with the composer, made a sonata in completely style of Richard Strauss. So it's a sonata not from Richard Strauss, it's a sonata after Richard Strauss. And it's a 25 minutes piece, big, huge, and extremely heavy. I think it will be the most played piece for the really adult trumpet players in the next 50 years.
If it's after Richard Strauss, then it's more of a tone poem, right? A through composed, not movements.
Yeah, but it's three movements. It's a real
Three
sonata.
movements.
3 movements with the sonata form in the first. The second one is a lot from Zarathustra, from this, but also other themes. And in the third movement, he composed something which remembers you very fast to the horn concerto. Yeah. So it's a 6/8, very, very fast. And in between, beautiful songs from very old pieces from Richard Strauss when he started. The whole project is so crazy. And on this CD, of course, I played the Trompeter von Seck from Victor Nessler. I play 2 songs by Richard Strauss and Mahler. Das Rosenband, another Blumine, but from Richard Strauss. And I finished the CD with Wo die schönen Trompeten blasen, the song from Gustav Mahler, where he describes a conversation between a young lady and her boyfriend. But at the end of the song, you realize he's already dead. That is it's a conversation in the mind of the girl, and they speak about where do the beautiful trumpets play. Yeah, on the field on the battlefield, and he's already under the green. That is that is from Gustav Mahler to Gustav Mahler, a big story.
Yeah.
And I also write the booklet for the CD, first time in my life. and the title will be the Search of the Lost Romantic.
Speaking of Mahler, or just in general.
In general, because I mean, we had the trumpet concerto by Haydn, we have Hummel, we have some other keyed trumpet pieces, And in early days, people like Wagner, Berlioz, Verdi, they used the new instrument with the valves very much. But there is a big conflict in the composer scene, I would say, because they didn't like so much the valves. A lot of composers, like Schumann, Brahms, they composed in the late Romantic period. They composed still for the natural trumpet. I mean, you can play the whole Schumann. You can play with like
right.
like the CDs from Chamber Orchestra of Europe with the conductors with Arnon Kur, who did the Beethoven sonatas, of course, the Beethoven symphony. But later they went to the repertoire, Schumann, Brahms, and what was possible, they played on the natural trumpets. And then we have this second group of composers who have been happy about a new instrument came out, like Berlioz, Wagner. There are a lot of symphonies by Wagner, early symphonies, and there he has two instruments, natural trumpets and two valve trumpets, two natural horns and two valve horns. Mm-hmm. So that describes. And my big question is, why the hell do the composers not write a piece for the trumpet? A good composer. I mean, somebody from the ranking of Schumann, Strauss, Brahms, or others. Nobody composed a real great piece. We have the Brahms clarinet and horn trio, fantastic music, and Brahms composed these 10 etudes for the trumpet players of the States Opera in Hamburg because they have been so lousy. So he composed some etudes to bring up their level. The first etudes are really basic, and at the end he really composed nice music. I'm still making research about why composers didn't have the courage to write a sonata, a concert, or in other circumstances, a big chamber music piece. Everything starts around 1900. Before you have only this huge amount of theme and variation for cheap money in the Tivoli.
I wonder if, because the cornet has already been around for a while, right? Yeah. But I mean, is it the difference maybe between the cornet and the trumpet? You know, they still want that brilliant sound of the trumpet, but you know, maybe it's not manufactured yet to the level of the cornet, because Arbin and others were already performing widely on the cornet, right?
We have just in these days, we have a new reprint of all pieces from Carl Goene, because he has his 160th birthday or so. And there's he was a famous soloist, Mr. Goene. In the time of Richard Strauss, he was playing for Richard Strauss in the Staatsoper in Berlin. And of course, Goene is something what the whole trumpet world likes to the Slavische Fantasie. And there are 10 or more other pieces. But Karl Goene is a trumpet player, like Oskar Böhme, like Vasily Brandt, like Arbon. That's all about Charlier also, Theodor Charlier. All trumpet players who have been really nice, really composing for our instrument. But yeah, the bridge to the big world of the concert hall is not open. It's in this little trumpet world, and it sticks there. And that is my question, and that is what I try to explain, how our high level in Baroque times, and then we fall down because of this combination of representing the aristocracy. We have been on the side of the kings. So when the kings disappeared more and more in democracy circumstances, the trumpet player went away with them. But then after 1816, when the valves came, and around 1840, the instrument was fixed. 1840, 1850, you have really you have the modern instrument, more or less. It's not so much happened in the instrument making. I mean, of course, our trumpets today from Shires also, or the factories. Of course, they make wonderful instruments, but the instrument could really play. I mean, otherwise, Gustav Mahler, Bruckner, Wagner would not write so crazy parts for the instrument.
Well, but even not Mahler, sorry, Wagner, of course, designing the Wagner tuba, but also the development of the F alta trumpet, right? I mean, Strauss and Wagner, Mahler, so they weren't afraid to use the low trumpets in their symphonies, but you're talking more about a soloist, right? Writing the virtuosic piece for the soloist. Yes.
Yeah. That is. I mean, the question is, what did the composer hold back to use our instrument, like, for example, like a flute can play all the scales, and we have such a rich perspective in the expression from the heroic trumpet to the death trumpet. I mean, it's the lyric where Donizetti composed this wonderful solo in Don Pasquale, which a funny story in my life. I was 20 years old and I was thrown in the Karlsruhe Staatsoper, the State's Opera in my hometown, because my teacher had some problems, and I had a lot to play. I mean, you know, the opera in German in these days was repertoire opera. Each night you had to play another piece. I played Rosenkavalier with a half rehearsal, but not for me, but only for the singers. So I was thrown in Rosenkavalier to play without knowing the piece so well, but also Wagner pieces, etc., etc. So we had a little trip outside of Karlsruhe, and it was a small, fantastic little Art Deco theater in Landau, in Palatino, in Pfalz, that is over the Rhine, on the direction France. And the people said, you don't need to, there's a trumpet solo in this piece, Don Pasquale, but you don't need to play, you don't need to practice it, because there is a tenor. He's an American tenor, and he's a fantastic player, and he plays always the solo on stage. So I thought, okay, good, I can practice other things, concentrated for different work. And I came in the night to the opera house, and then I was sitting down, and I sit down in the cabin, and I was waiting for the soloist start to play, and then the conductor was coming. Hey, you have to play, you have to play. There was the opera singer was sick, and there was another one. So I was rising up my trumpet, and I played the first time a piece which I have never seen before, the Don Pasquale solo from Donizetti. That was it was really a big thing, and it worked well, but the pulsation was 250.
You know, it's funny you mentioned Donizetti and all these other operas. Of course, the 150 art of phrasing, the 150 pieces at the back of the Arbans, right, are filled with the opera arias. And that I know for myself, that was the introduction to a lot of opera, even if I didn't know that it was opera, but it was an introduction to either opera or art song or arias or song cycles. You know, well, I don't know that there were any song cycles in there, but you know,
a lot of times, a lot of schools have that. Yeah.
But some people say, oh, those pieces are outdated, but I say, no, they're still absolutely fantastic for learning how to play lyrically and to phrase, because they're true. Those are vocal pieces to begin with. Those were sung, right? There's text.
Yeah.
Every one of those. And I wish the text were provided for that. I think that would help us as trumpet players to understand, oh, this is This is how
There
we
is.
do it.
It's exactly what you describe is exactly happening in the school of Carl Goene, which I got last week because it's new printed. Carl Goene, in his appendix, a lot of songs, only songs, and what I know from the man who brought it out, it's a trumpet player in moment, Matthias Kamps. He's in the Komische Oper in Berlin, first trumpet, and he's taking care a lot about it. He lives in the same street where Carl Goene was living. And he makes all the research about him. And he told me, Carl Goene, when the student came in and he had to play one of these songs, they had to speak the text first. And when they didn't know the text, he sent the students home, said, learn the text, then you can come again. So that
Brilliant.
means this connection was very, very close there. So I would say all the circumstances together give me the courage, the courage to say, why composers, why you don't write for us? We have the whole, we can sing on the trumpet. We have the strongest instrument. We can whisper on the trumpet. We have really all expressions and in a strong way. That's why I struggle so much with this thing. But I hope that once young people write their doctor work and concentrate to focus on this question, because it's not one question. It's a big number of different questions, of course.
You're thinking about Strauss and Wagner and Mahler writing soloistically for the trumpet, but I've often wondered, what if Beethoven had the chromatic, the trumpet? What amazing thing would he have composed for us?
I mean, the Beethoven Fidelio was composed exactly in the same time when Hummel wrote his trumpet concerto. It's 1804, 1805. And what I did, because we have no music from Beethoven, but I have now, because I was feeling something. I was in the end of the first act, the big aria of the Leonore. There is the Abfolger, wo eilst du hin, it's the recitative, and then the slow aria, and then the fast aria. That is a package, recitative, slow aria, fast aria. It takes around 10 minutes, and it is perfectly written for the E trumpet. I play Hummel concerto in E major, pausa, or as an encore. I played a lot of times this piece. It's a little bit long for an encore because 10 minutes encore and it's already it gets at the end it gets a little bit painful, but it's perfect because it's the same year, and the Hummel's big hero was Beethoven. He didn't compose one symphony because he said, I will never compose on this level like Beethoven. So he wrote piano concertos 5 like Beethoven, but not one symphony. But and you can really smell how these two pieces in a speaking with each other. I'm sure Hummel was looking over the shoulder of Beethoven when he composed. They all lived in Vienna. Hummel was the student of Mozart. I mean, the connection Mozart, Beethoven is everything is close together. So I have now my little Beethoven piece. Before I didn't like Beethoven, and now I like him.
I want to go back to Mahler for a second. I've been able to play, and it would have been 7 times had the season played out the way it should have, but I played Mahler 1, the first symphony, 7, it would have been 7 times. Only once have I been able to play the Blumine. And it was, to me, it fits. Oh, and that was also his original orchestration, the time that we did that. It wasn't, which I think was maybe only 3-horn. Oh, it was much reduced in the brass section. But what I realized is, as much as I love the symphonies of Mahler, if you get to know the song cycles, das Knaben Wunderhorn, Totenlieder, and then you make your way into the Schubert song cycles, and it's just I don't know. I think that's really where trumpet players should start, is learning to play those. There's a really nice collection of pieces rewritten for trumpet from Das Knaben Wunderhorn. And I can't remember the titles off the top of my head, but anyways, I use those for my students. And I say, learn these, because these are going to help you understand the way Mahler, the way he integrates them into his symphonies, but also to help you become better lyrically, to sing more through your trumpet. So, one thing is obvious to me for sure, right from the beginning of this, is you are very passionate about not just trumpet, though. I mean, you're very passionate about still growing the repertoire and the awareness of all of this, which to me is very exciting. You know, you mentioned the piece after Strauss, and I'm thinking, well, I need to find that, right? And I need to.
It's Wusenhoch's.
Okay.
Wusenhoch's printed. It will be. I'm sure it will be one of the most played pieces in the trumpet repertoire in the next 50 years, because also the difficulty is really high, and that means only the very good students are able to play it, and that means the younger want to do it, because they look up and they say, wow, he is allowed to play that. This morning, my American student from Los Angeles, he was what was the old trumpet? He was in Los Angeles Philharmonic, October or something like that.
Rob Roy McGregor?
No. He was a student of him. He's now my student, 25 years old. And this morning he played his 3 high G third octave notes, and the recording of his Brandenburg concerto for pentatone, a fantastic label, was done today. So I'm proud.
Jens Lindemann.
No, not also. He's much older. Boyhood student, was 15 years old, and I played a concert in LA, and he got in touch with me, and this young man played for me, and now he's my student. And today he finished his second Brandenburg recording for one of the best labels we have, and he had a big interview in the television. He's touring, Barbara Hannigan, the soprano. No. She's a crazy sopranist, also conducting.
She did the
Liget from Harper.
Yes, thank you. That's what I was trying to think. Yes,
and she has one piece where it's an extremely high trumpet, and he always is touring with her. So I'm totally happy with my work as a teacher. And of course, on the other side, I really tried to create new repertoire, to look, but not only to look in the contemporary forward. That is, of course, one good aspect. But there are people like Håkan is producing more than the whole world can. We are all running behind him and looking here, next piece, the next solo piece, the next for orchestra. So Håkan is really fantastic in this way, and I think my searching for new repertoire has more different aspects. Going back to the old repertoire, tomorrow I start a new CD with the Georgian Chamber Orchestra. It's all people from Georgia who were in the time with Gorbachev. They came all from Georgia. Now they sit in the near of Munich, and they have created their Georgian Chamber Orchestra. And I have a German Jewish cantata by Ivan Fischer, the conductor of the Budapest Festival Orchestra. Fantastic composition with soprano. I have a Jewish composer from Tel Aviv, who is original from Tajikistan, Moscow, now Tel Aviv. He composed a piece for Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. These three religions are fighting musically against or with each other. It's all aspects. I start with the shofar. That is my shofar.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's it. That's the real thing. Yeah.
It's from the desert Negev in the, next to between Israel and it's this instrument is the costs around $500 to $1,000. It's really it's that is the trumpet of Jericho or the trombone of Jericho. Yeah, that is the instrument.
Yeah.
There have not been trumpets and there have not been trombones. It was the instrument of Jericho.
Right.
And then I start the CD with the instrument, and then is fantastic music. Really, really very outstanding. And also, it's not so contemporary that the normal listeners will not understand the music. This music is easily understandable, and that makes I like when we have between the public with the audience and the musicians and the composer, when there are bridges of understanding each other.
When you take a new piece like that, I mean, if you're going to play the Haydn, Hummel, Neruda, Aritunian, Böhm, right? It already has a history. And there's so many great performances, so many great interpretations of all of those pieces. But when you approach a new piece, like the ones you're talking about, where maybe there's no frame of reference and your performance is going to become the benchmark.
Yeah.
How do you approach a new piece? I mean, now if you have the composer that you can talk to and work with directly, that's a help. But how do you approach learning and especially not just technical aspect, but the interpretation of a piece?
But that is mostly coming directly to me from the piece. I mean, if I have a composer like Benjamin Yusupov, who is who composed the cello concerto for Misha Maisky and the violin concerto for Repin and for Evengerov, he's really very introduced in this world. And I know this Jewish content. And then he speaks about, but I have my idea in this piece is we have three monotheistic world religions, that is Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. And then of course when I got the piece, I mean I was nervous because to discover it, but it's so clear. It is so clear what it says. I have a huge part where I'm like a priest from singing from the tower of a monk, and then are some parts they so similar to Schindler's Liste or to this sort of klezmer. But not really klezmer, but the influence is very clear.
Yeah.
Then of course at the end of this piece is coming the opening the door, and Johann Sebastian Bach is coming in, and you think I know this piece, and then you realize no, it only sounds similar to Matthäus Passion, but it's not this. It's a recomposed thing by Benjamin Yusupov. And then I'm like an old Nazi. I'm destroying with quite ugly trumpet fanfares. I destroy this wonderful music. And at the end is a very, very sad, long notes, and you really, there is not a solution for the happy end story. It's a big question mark at the end, but the music is like, it's like you look a movie. And my way, of course, I have to study my part. I look what is the orchestra first before the creation. I have no idea how it sounds. I sit on the piano. I check the sounds. I look what is connected with me, how I am in the game, how I start something, or how something is already there and I fit in. So that's a process of weeks and months, and then you find your place, and I find my way of playing something I decide to play this way. And that is on the knowledge of the biography of the composer, as well as the other voices of the instrument of the whole composition. Also, of course, I listened to all these other concerts of the composer to get an impression what he has done before. But each piece is totally a new thing. There's, one student of Shostakovich was Edison Denisov. He was a mathematics. He was in the European contemporary world. He was a quite big name. And I was asked by my radio station. I was long time in Frankfurt Radio Orchestra. I was 18 years long there. We had a brass ensemble, and the radio boss, he asked me to go to Switzerland to meet this composer and to ask if he want to write for us. Big brass ensemble with like the pictures at the exhibition from Philip Jones version. Exactly this type. So I met this composer, and we had a wonderful time in Switzerland. We spoke about what I want, what should be this piece. So, and he went home to Russia, and he had a horrible accident with a truck from military. His little car was completely destroyed, and normally this composer would have died. But the friend, Minister of Defense, he brought him from Moscow to Paris, and in several operations they put him together again. He survived. So I went to Paris to bring him the money from the radio, and I put in the envelope. I did some 1,000 Deutschmark. In this time, it was 1995. I put some 1,000 Deutschmark from my money without saying something. Got his money from the radio, and he got some extra money because he was in a big shit. He needed help. Yeah. So I got, then a few months later, the piece arrived, this wonderful 6-movement long piece, which was one of the last pieces of this composer. The second last piece of him was written for Chicago Symphony. And the third last one was a trumpet solo with piano. It's like a little requiem. He composed it, and he only gave, because that was his way of saying thank you for the extra money. Wow. And that was such a moment where what do you call this?
Goosebumps.
Goosebumps, yeah. Goosebumps. That I didn't expect, so that I didn't ask for. I only gave him the money for the brass ensemble, put some extra money in, and then this piece arrived. And shortly after this, he died. That is this group of composers where he was in. One of the, in the big tradition after Prokofiev, Shostakovich, it's one of the biggest composers, and he wrote that piece. And then
you have? I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
That was a completely different way getting in touch with the music, because in the preparation of the first, what do you call the first time when you play a piece? The first the premiere, yeah. In the time of preparing the premiere, the composer died.
Mm. Mm. So my question was going to be, because you say influenced by Shostakovich and Prokofiev, very nationalistic, not all the time, but the way that they wrote, of course, heavily influenced in great part by Russia, by the Soviet Union. Do you find some of that same writing, that same flavor in his composition?
It's what he composed is a very, very sad, requiem-like piece. And he was before he was a composer, he was studying mathematics. He's mathematics and composer in the same thing. And composition has to do a lot with groups of notes with 9 to 7 or 16 to 5 or so. I mean, it's mathematical describing of how you use the time.
But not like Schoenberg, not like serial.
Yes, it's not. He is not a 12th tone composition, but it's even perhaps more contemporary than Schoenberg. But actually, the music is so touching, because it's just very sad. You feel always this the black towel over the whole thing, like in the music in Telemann's time. When there was soprano, the trumpets had to be covered by black towel, and also the timpani, and that was used when you see once Claudio Abbado conducting our Lucerne Festival Orchestra, and at the end the choral of the Third Symphony, we had all covered on the bell was a black towel, and that black cotton. That made this not very easy to play, because the whole intonation, everything is crazy. And I asked Claudio several times, please, Claudio, can we take that away? It's so horrible. He said, yeah, you could, but I like it so much. So please, can you? So finally we did it, and it worked, but it was a very hard situation. And this black sorrow, tristesse, that was always in this piece by Edison Denisov. So yeah, it's each new piece what I did the creation when I played the premiere had a totally different story. It's not two stories who are similar. One story I perhaps want to tell you, because it had to do a lot with my life. I was 1986. I was winning the Munich competition in the radio competition.
Okay.
There was no first prize, because it was Maurice Andre who got the first prize. So there was only the first prize was not given. I was second prize, and George Forsberg was third prize. Yeah. George, and he was very angry that he didn't get the first prize, and I was very happy that I was the second prize winner. So, and I won this competition, which was hard. Philip Jones was in the jury, etc., etc. Was wonderful, but I got the money from the prize, and they thought, well, what should I do with this money? I have everything. I have an apartment where I live. I have a trumpet. I have a car. I don't need this money. So I listened a fantastic piece for string trio, violin, viola, cello in the radio, and crazy contemporary. And I thought, wow, this is really music I have never heard in this way. And I tried to figure out who was the composer. I went to him and his girlfriend, also composer, and they have been both extremely young, younger than 20 years. And I gave them the money. I said, here's the money. Please do something useful with it. I don't ask for a piece. I give you the money, and it's in your responsibility to do what you think what is good. So the woman composed a piece, and 2-3 years ago, for this piece, she got an international prize. And the man, he composed one piece after the other for brass quintet, for bigger ensemble, for solo trumpet, and then he said, that is not for the money. It's I'm only studying the instrument. He started to learn trumpet. Finally, he wrote the first movements of this piece, and it got the prize in Japan, international competition prize. Then this young man came to me and said, Reinhold, is not finished. I will 2 more movements. The piece was finished. It got the prize in Wien Modern, the festival from Claudia Abbado in Vienna. And I played in Japan and I played in Vienna the creation of this new piece. I think that's a way of a totally other story, how from an idea to the piece, a long story, and a lifelong friendship, of course, also.
That's fantastic. I'm curious, with so many new compositions that come out, they try to push trumpet technique, either faster fingers, more complex rhythms, or such angular and huge jumps. And
the tessitura in high register and in low register increased.
Yeah, and more, to me, they're interesting, but they're not necessarily musical. It's more about gymnastics or pyrotechnics, about look what I can write, rather than I think from a deeper place. What's your perspective on the newer writing compositions?
I mean, there's exactly what you describe. I reflect on one piece which was composed for Sergei Nakrayakov.
Oh,
because the piece is from Jörg Wittmann.
Yes.
The composition student of my colleague Wolfgang Riem in Karlsruhe. Now Jörg Wittmann is one of the top composers. This meeting, there was some people in the back who said, yeah, Mr. Wittmann, could you please meet Mr. Sergei Nakrayakov? Yeah, he met him, and Sergei said, sit down, listen, I play. And Jörg Wittmann was perhaps a little bit frustrated or a little nasty, because he was not used to be handled like this. Yeah, sit down and shut up.
Wow.
And then he was warming up, Sergei. And Sergei, I mean, he's really a fantastic player, and his circular breathing things, everything. He's an incredible good player. And then the composer said, I composed you a piece. And he got this piece. And it's
ad absurdum. Yes.
Ad absurdum. Yeah. And that is the creation was several times blocked for 1 year, and it was they changed the date for the premiere because it was such a hard work for Sergei too. It's a phenomenal piece on one hand, but if you ask me if I would like to play this piece, I would tell you the same what Jeroen Berwats, a student of mine who is also international trumpet soloist. He said, I don't practice for this piece 2 or 3 years, only to be able to play this one piece. That makes no sense for my life. That's why I will never play this piece, because I have not so much time for one composition. We always we have extreme new pieces like Haka Gruber's Exposed Throat, or the aerial or busking. Each piece is a huge mountain with of work, and also to get in touch with new little techniques. And that means you have to be sure that you want to do that.
Yeah,
And
it's
then,
interesting. I'm reaching over because on my stand is now I like his writing because it's not impossible. You're not going to have to spend 3 or 4 years learning how to
Yeah.
perform that. I mean, there's some techniques in there that are really interesting, and but it's not impossible. I mean, he writes so that a good college student, university student can play that.
I think that is exactly what it is. The piece made his career. This piece is worldwide known in each country. It is on the map, and it's a fantastic way to get in touch with new techniques. And also, you can play it in a concert. It has a lot of different colors. It's nice, but I would say the Berio Sequenza, for example, is a step forward, a big step forward. Or the Hense Sonatina is.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
But if you play that in concert, then it's a step forward in the literature. And if I could, it would be so funny to get in a time machine, go 100 years forward, and look how these 100 years happened in the music channel, in the trumpet world as well, and which pieces are surviving and which pieces are lost, and people say, come on, it's not interesting anymore to play. Yeah. Because there's in our days, there is not one soloist who is living from the thema and variation from Aban. I mean, people played this. Everybody plays one time in the life, the Carnival of Venice. There is not one soloist who is spending his whole life with the music, which was a bit more than 100 years. Aban was playing from morning to night. He was several years on a tour on the Volga, on a ship, going up, down, the Volga. And then he lost his position in the conservatory. And they said, okay, if you don't come, will be another professor. And then finally, he regained this position again. But he was living from this. So I think the repertoire will changed. Perhaps pieces like Hindemith Sonata or Veronica Entrada, in 50 years, the people don't play it anymore because it's old-fashioned stuff. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you put it that way. And I wonder if, well, I mean, time truly is the test. Beethoven, of course, is here for a reason. We're still talking about him 200 years later for a reason. And you wonder, I mean, Haydn, Hummel, Neruda, they've survived as long as they have. I mean, all of the Bach cantatas. I mean, but all of those had such enormous, an enormous amount of compositions. Right. I mean, Hindemith didn't put out quite as much. I mean, he wrote a lot, but not as much. Aryutunian, he didn't write as much. So I think what I'm trying to say is, because there's such a small amount of their work, it might be harder for that work to survive 50 or 100 years later, because they're just not as well known. And somebody just told me recently that Hindemith actually wrote an opera, or maybe several operas.
Several operas, yeah.
But how well are they known?
There have been, for example, three small operas have been rediscovered because they have been forbidden in the Nazi time. They have not been played because of one of it was too much sexistic. It was a love affair thing, and it was too crazy for these people in this time, and Hindemith in general he was not allowed to compose anymore in Germany. So he went to the States, as you know, of course, and then to Switzerland. My uncle, a painter, who is in the background, do you see him?
Yes.
This man was also, he was not allowed anymore to make his pictures because it was entartete Kunst. That means art which is out of the laws with what the Nazis discussed about. And he was going to Portugal, and he lived a long time in Portugal and worked there. That is Hindemith. Somebody. I mean, I think his Sonata is outstanding nice. It's one of our big sonatas we have for our instrument. What I also like as well is the sonata by Georges Antheil.
Oh, yes.
It's a piece which is very, very welcome in my class. A lot of students they play, but it's also quite hard and long, 4 movements. This filter, what the 50 years later filter, which pieces are surviving, that is interesting question.
I want to go back just a little bit different topic. You said you had spent 18 years as an orchestral trumpet player, but not was it more than that? I mean, there was 18 years with Lucerne.
I was 1.5 years in the opera house in Karlsruhe. Then I studied and had my studies with Edward Tarr. So I'm a typical German trumpet player. My teachers are French, Pierre Thibault and Edward Tarr. And then I got the position in the radio in Frankfurt. I was there 18 years, and then I quitted the orchestra because I wanted to have more time with my girlfriend, who was an international acting singer in this time. And I stopped the orchestra, and it was suddenly much more work than before. And
yeah, so I'm curious because, okay, girlfriend, you mentioned that she's the reason that you left the orchestra, but had you already had an interest in soloing? Had you already been soloing outside of the orchestra? Always?
Yeah, always. Since my times as a student, I was playing solo. I was still in this studying in the academy, and I was turning around with orchestra. So it never started. It was
always there.
I was 21 when I played my first second Brandenburg. And in the same concert, Håkan was playing. He played before me and with me. Before the second Brandenburg was the cantata 191, the Gloria from the B minor Mass.
Yeah.
B minor Mass Gloria. And then after the second Brandenburg was the Magnificat. And I said to the conductors, I cannot play all of these things. I have to concentrate for the Brandenburg. And they said, yeah, can we have another first trumpet player? I have a friend of mine, a student from here. He could play first trumpet. That was his first gig. Håkan's first gig was first time he played bass, actually.
Wow.
And he played wonderful. And I played second trumpet, and then I walked in front and played the solo and came back and played the second in Magnificat. That was with 21 years. Håkan was 18.
Wow.
And then when I stopped 1999, I stopped in the orchestra. And then 3 years later, I got a phone call from Claudio Abbado. And he asked me to be first trumpet in the Lucerne Festival Orchestra. That is, of course, only a summer holiday party with all these fantastic players who are in it. My wish to continue to play in the orchestra a bit. The music is too good. The music is so fantastic. Then with these friends together, I was so happy. It's now a fantastic aspect in my musical life. Chamber music. I'm a teacher. I'm a soloist, and in the summer there are always 2 or 3 weeks orchestra, and then again in October when we have mostly we do have a tour to. We have been once in the Carnegie Hall. We have been in Moscow, in China, in Suntory Hall, in Madrid, in Rome. So it's a rich thing, and it balances my activities in a fine way. My problem is Håkan was, I think he was perhaps 14 when he decided I will be a soloist, and I could never make this decision in this way, because I was in the youth orchestra so with 14 years. I was playing chamber music in the same time I started. Then I came to Interlaken, Michigan. I was a student of Leon Rapier, my teacher. I admire so much. He opened so much my eyes and my mind, and also a big human, great soul. I'm still, I could cry when I think to him. And he had a fantastic looking daughter, the cello, playing cello. It was also one of my desires. So, and then my life got more rich, and but it was always playing solo, chamber, orchestra. And then I was in a self-organized German youth orchestra. It's in the time as a student, which is called Junge Deutsche Philharmonie. It's like Berlin Philharmonic, self-organized. The idea is everybody is done by the members. And I was in the board of the orchestra, and then we founded, in this time when I was in the board, we founded the Ensemble Moderne, from like Ensemble Intercontemporain. There was another foundation, the Freiburg Baroque Orchestra and Deutsche Kammerphilharmonie. 3 orchestras who are still extremely erfolgreich, who have big success still.
Right.
The very successful groups. And I never could do this decision because it would mean if I'm only soloist and I cannot do this or this again, I don't know how to survive, because to play the 5th Mahler with Claudia Abbado, it was such an adventure. Not to be able to do that would be, I have my heart and throw it in the on the court. Also, I play Keats trumpet. Next year I play again Hummel concerto in the Musikvereinsaal in Vienna. I play baroque trumpet because I'm a student of Edison. Of course, that was also part of his heritage, which he gave me, the interest of original instruments in this time. They change a little bit your perspective. You look to baroque music, not only from the piccolo trumpet. When you play the baroque trumpet, you have another idea. That this is also an aspect which Håkan doesn't share with me, because he was with Ed Tarr in the brass in the trumpet ensemble in the baroque, and they gave him a low A trumpet or something, and he was coming in late and got this instrument, and one was playing in trumpet in A, another one in C, and another one in D. So modulation, and Håkan was completely frustrated. I don't do this anymore. My way was a bit different, and so I'm doing that.
Where did you find the time to teach? You're so busy performing. Where?
Yeah, that is true. It's I have short nights. I sleep mostly 5 hours, 5 to 6 hours more. That is I have my practicing is mostly in the night, and in the day I'm teacher of now 160 students, and they are all everywhere in the world.
That's well, okay. So not 160 students per week.
2002 or 3 was the ITG trumpet competition in, I'm not sure. I think it was in Boston or around there. And then I got a phone call from Stephen Burns. And Stephen Burns said, "Reinhold, you asshole. Next time we do the trumpet competition in your school, that is more cheap for the students, because it was the first and the second prize, and there was no third prize, but on the third place was also a student from mine." He was joking nicely. Yeah, deep boy.
Well, how do I become a student of yours? How do I start taking lessons with you?
Very simple, very simple. Our school has a special program for people like you.
I don't know what
Kontaktstudium. Well, it's by the way, it's really honest. We have a special program for professional people who want to make a new restart to learn something, or sometimes it's focused on particular pieces, and sometimes it's only to recover or to get a new shape or so. And a lot of in the moment I have a 31-year-old Colombian and one 34-year-old Japanese trumpet player, and they try to get a little vitamins and more ideas about how to use this instrument.
Well, I'm always trying to learn something new. I'm not afraid to reach out and try to do something, because it makes me better. It makes my students better, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's so, I'm never ashamed to admit that I'm always trying to improve my own playing and my own teaching. So, this has been fantastic. May we come back in a few months or so and do more?
Yeah,
because
sure.
I feel like there's
Yeah.
still so much more that you could talk about, and I would love to be able to process this and think about what you've said and go, right, talk about some of those different directions. But this has been great. I mean, we've already been going over an hour, so time flies when you're having fun.
In 1 hour, I have a rehearsal with the composer from Israel.
Oh.
And he's already working with my girlfriend with the piano. And in 1 hour we put it together, and tomorrow we start with the orchestra. So it's process is fluid. Yeah.
I'm curious. The conductor that Sergei works with quite often, that's not the same conductor you're talking about.
Which one do you mean?
Well, yeah, I'm going to edit this out, but he's Jewish. I mean, he's always wearing the yarmulke when he conducts.
Could be, yes. That could be. That is Benjamin Yusupov. He was working a lot of times.
So.
Yeah.
I thought
That
so. Okay.
It's right. I saw all the videos with him. He was Sergei was in the creation of the piece when I was in playing in Jerusalem. This piece, he came to the place. Yeah. It's exactly, it's right. Yeah. I didn't think about it, but you're right. It's him. Yeah. And I have tomorrow. I have an Armenian conductor with a Georgian orchestra. I mean, this Georgia and Armenia is together. It's board to board, like Mexico and California. And in this moment, we have also there the same problem zone with Azerbaijan, Armenia. That is a little bit the red the red line, what is going through this CD, to get music in circumstances where it's a tension. I mean, in Armenia, in Georgia, is the life is, you can feel this neighborhood with Turkey, and that makes tension. And the music, of course, reflects this also. In Alan Hovnes is my last composer on this CD, because he has such a nice, beautiful song, who is called Harotiun. Harotiun, and that means it's a name of a person probably died in this Holocaust, and the music is like healing wounds. It's so very simple, but only beautiful. So it's a song at the end of this CD.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow.
But we can, I would love to continue in the
Yes,
couple of
please.
months. You please.
Well, and I'm even thinking, because Vince DiMartino, a really good friend of mine, of course, he's so interested in the period instruments. And you're talking about how nobody was alive that knows how to play the theme and variations. But, somebody like Vince, who is very interested in not just playing those pieces, but playing those on the period instruments.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we can talk more about that. Reinhold, Dankeschön.
Thank you for this wonderful
And for Rex Richardson for putting us in touch with one another. So Rex is such a beautiful person. I love him to pieces. So please stay healthy.
Thank you. Yes. Soon again.
All right. Auf Wiedersehen.